Okay, so this is Thursday, and you guys will see me tomorrow. But we're going to look at starting 7.6, solving radical equations. Now, I don't have the notes in front of me, so I'm just going to give you examples from the book. Remember, if A equals B, then if I square it or cube it on both sides, it will be equal. The n is an exponent. You always want to get the radical by itself. So let's look at this one. We're going to try and solve, sorry about the shakiness, guys, this one. Now I want to get this all by itself, so I'm going to add 4 to both sides. Now I have the cube root of x equals 4. If I want to get rid of this, I need to cube it, and I have to keep it equal on both sides. The cube root of something that's cubed gets rid of this, and now you get x equals 4 cubed. That means x equals 64. Now you should always go back and check the cube root of 64 minus 4. Does that equal 0? Well, I look at my perfect sheet, or I can check this on my calculator. The cube root of 64 is 4. So what is 4 minus 4? Oops. 0 equals 0. It checks out. So this is the correct answer. Now what happens if I have exponents instead of nice radicals? Well, let's look at this next example. Example 2. I want to solve 2x to the 3 halves equals 250. Now the goal is to get this x to the 3 halves by itself. So if this is multiplied, I need to divide the 2. So now I got x to the 3 halves equals 125. Now I got to get this to be just an x. If it says 3 halves, I'm going to raise this to the 2/3. I want to make it a 1. So I take the reciprocal. And that means I have to take this and raise it to the 2/3. Multiply this out. 6 over 6, so you get an x here. Now, I'm going to look at this. Now, you could put this in your calculator, oops, or you can realize that what we're looking at is 125 to the 1/3, and then I'm squaring it. That means the cube root of 125, which is 5, and when I square it, x equals 25. We check to make sure we have the right answer. So I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to put in 25 to the 3 halves and see if it equals 250. Well, what's the square root of 25? That's 5, and then I cube it. Well, that means it's 2 times 125, and that's 250 equals 250. So it checks out, and that solution is okay. All right? All right, so let's look at this example. Notice it says solve the square root of 4x minus 7 plus 2 equals 5. The goal here is to get this radical all by itself. So I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. And I have 4x minus 7 equals 3. I need to get rid of the square root sign. To get rid of the square root sign, I square it. That's how I undo a square root. Now when I do that, I get 4x minus 7. Now that equals 9. So I add 7 to both sides. 4x equals 16. I divide by 4, and x equals 4. Now I have to check to see if this works. Okay? So if I'm going to check to see if this works, let's do the check over here. I'm going to take 4 times 4, and I'm going to subtract 7. then add 2 and see if it equals 5. Well, 4 times 4, that's 16 minus 7 plus 2. 16 minus 7 is 9. Well, the square root of 9 is 3. And 5 does equal 5, so this is a valid solution. Now, we only had one radical before, but now we've got 2 radicals. Not to worry, we are going to add this to both sides. And now we get the square root of 3x plus 2 equals 2 square root of x. How did we get rid of radicals before? We squared both sides. When I take the square, here's the square of a square root, I get what's inside. Now this, I have to square both of them, so it's 2 squared times x. So now I've got 3x plus 2 equals 4x. Well, I need to solve for x, so I'm going to subtract 3. 2 equals x. Well, that looks like it's our answer, but again, we need to check. So to check this, we're going to put it into the original. 3 times 2 plus 2 minus 2 square root of 2, does that equal 0? Well, we're going to find out. So now I have 6 plus 2 minus 2 square root of 2, and I get 8 minus 2 square root of 2. Now, do you remember where we had to find our perfects here? So we actually know that this is 4 and 2. So I've got 2 square root of 2 minus 2 square root of 2. Does 0 equal 0? So that's a correct answer. If you're looking for some perfect squares, we could always do a factor tree. That's 2 times 4. That's not prime, so we keep going. And as soon as we have a match, that comes out to that. All right? All right, so here's an example. Example 5 says to solve, and we have x minus 4 equals the square root of 2x. Now, every time we've checked the answer, it works. You need to check the answer for all your solutions because sometimes mathematically it'll give you a solution, but when you check back in the original, it doesn't work. So let's try this one. I need to get rid of this. So what I have to do is I need to write this down, and to get rid of a radical or a square root, I square it, which means I have to square both sides. Now on this side, square of a square root just gives me what's inside. Don't forget, this is x minus 4 times x minus 4. So what I'm going to do is FOIL this. X squared minus 4x minus 4x plus 16 equals 2x. X squared, add like terms. And I need to subtract 2. Now I have x squared minus 10x plus 16 equals 0. Now we have factored these before. So remember, we actually would sit there and go, it's got to be x and x. And what are some factors of 16? Well, let's try 8 and 2. And I need a minus, so I'm going to make these both minus. I cross here, I get minus 2x. I cross here, I get minus 8x. Does that give me a negative 10x? And it does. So now my factors are x minus 8 and x minus 2 equals 0. And I have to set each one equal to 0 and solve for x. Now I got 2 answers this time. Well, let's check back at the original problem. So I'm going to check both of them. Now, so I'll go back up here, and I'm going to write x minus 4 equals the square root of 2x. When x is 8, let's see what we get. 8 minus 4 equals the square root of 2 times 8. 8 minus 4 is 4. The square root of 16. Does 4 equal 4? Yep. So here's one of our answers. The other one we had was x equals 2. So I have to check that as well. X minus 4 equals the square root of 2x. 2 minus 4 equals the square root of 2 times 2. This is minus 2. This is the square root of 4. Does minus 2 equal 2? No. So this one is not part of the solution. Okay? That's why you have to check these.